Cody Askins, man, I'm fired up to have a conversation with you today, especially since one, we're sitting in the venue for Impact Effect 23. So vibes are high. I'm feeling good. Got the cortisol and adrenaline running. But I know you throw these massive conferences, massive events, and I just want some feedback, some vulnerability, some truth. Like, what do you think of the experience so far, and what are some of the attendees saying that you've conversed and chatted with?
Yeah, man, it's been dude, it's been great. Like you have guts, you know. Like a lot of people, that's what they lack in life is guts to do something big. They're like, they think about it for too long, and they talk themselves out of it. I always say, like, think long, think wrong, you know. And dude, you've had a vision, which a lot of people have visions, right? But you had a vision. You put the steps in place. And you actually went and executed. And it's super impressive. I love the venue. Really cool spot. I love that you didn't do it in some boring flipping hotel ballroom, which I hate doing it in. Like, dude, it's sick. I walk in, I'm like, dang, dude, look at what Jim Morris is pulling off. And everybody should be at Impact Effect 24 if they're not at 23.
Yeah. It's funny. A lot of people have asked me, Jim, you gonna do it again? Or, you okay? And I'm like, dude, I'm excited, number one. And number two, I'm already planning next year.
Correct.
Like someone was like, dude, you're nuts. And I'm like, no, because through that process of learning, I'm acquiring new skills and I'm acquiring new visions, new insights, and getting the real raw feedback. And that's why I wanted to jump on with you today to just hear that feedback, because that's what I believe moves the needle.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of people are going to come up to me today, and they have, and I'm very appreciative of it. But I appreciate the feedback, the good words, the hoorah, but I really want to know how we can make it more impactful for you as we continue to progress and move forward to 2024, man.
Yeah. There's one thing I look at when I go to events, and I analyze pretty regularly the whole time, and that is the actual energy in the room. You know, like the music, the MCs, the when the speaker asks for cooperation, clap, say this, do that, nod, whatever, raise your hand, etc. Like, what kind of participation are they getting, and what's the energy like? The energy's been really, really good today. You know, really, really good. Hopefully I can take it up a little extra notch, but I believe in energy. I believe in the power of energy. Also, I believe in when you get a bunch of people together that are, like yourself, doing big stuff in the world. They want to collaborate and learn. Like, it tells you a lot about someone when they will literally invest their time and money to come learn from people and make new relationships. Yeah. And it's the best way to get ahead in life and to help others and bring more value to your family and your community by getting out there and doing that.
Totally. And I mean, that's really the underlining theme of relationships being rocket ships, and that's what I really wanted to do.
Did you trademark that yet? That's good.
So my buddy Nick Cavuto said it to me, and I said, if you don't write the book, I will.
Ooh, that's good.
Because that's how I've lived my whole life. My whole life has been mistakes, down in the dumps early on, messed up family, whatever you want to categorize and label it. Yep. But in those darkest moments and times, relationships have transitioned and transformed me. And then 100%. On the converse, and I'll talk about this afternoon, is on those highs. When you're on the mountaintop, who's there to make you feel that much better? Who's there to support and say that? And at the end of the day, people are power. And that's really just what it comes down to. Yeah. So we've got a relationship rally this afternoon. We're going to have one of our speakers after you, Jamie Miller, come on. So you're going to bring the heat. Jamie's going to talk about how to network and how to position verbally to engage in some good relationships. And then I'd bring it back after that and talk about strategic connections and actually spending time on relationships. So my whole goal was really to put an event on that has so much value from an insight and education standpoint, but also try to do something unique and really bring it back to go talk to people, go build the relationship, tell them your dreams. And that's how I opened it today, right? Yeah. Like, be real, be raw. The truth never supersedes the truth. And vulnerability is a superpower. So how can I put people in a position to have these conversations? And I'll open up. Like, you'll hear me on stage open up about a lot of things that have occurred. And it's funny because I worked on this speech for probably 3.5 months, and I ripped it up and threw it in the trash last night, and I'm going all heart this afternoon.
Wow.
That's it.
Here's something I was thinking about. I wanted to ask you, man. That's wild, by the way, but I love it because that speaks to who you are. relationships are really important to you. You're also really good at them. Like you sought me out, and I should have sought you out harder and like built a relationship. You do a good job of checking in with me, texting, connecting, through social, et cetera. Like I've been really impressed at your ability to really connect with someone and build a relationship.
Thanks, man.
Where does that come from? Like it seems to be really, really important to you.
So I think growing up, with parents who are addicted to OxyContin, allowed me to really build a family of relationships through friendships. And, at the end of the day, like I was kind of talking earlier, in those darkest moments, that's what's got me through. And my older brother actually said to me, build a relationship with your boss so that way they don't have to build one with you. And I just kind of took that and blew it up. And then as I move into entrepreneurship, it's like, dude, this is all about relationships.
100%.
So I think going towards friends and having to build those solid people that I could rely on, get advice from, that were there for me, that picked me up when I was down, that, bought a gallon of milk when I had cereal with water. Like, stuff like that really allowed me to pour into it. And then once I jumped into entrepreneurship, I'm like, that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
And our relationship started a year ago when I had this idea, when you pulled me on stage.
True.
And now I get you on my stage, and we get to have this podcast and be friends and meet your wife. Like it just continues to grow and build.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really, really is the rocket ship.
Yeah, it took some for those that are listening, what Jim's referencing is a year ago, at Coach Bert's Monster Nation conference, September 2024, or something like 2022. Sorry, I asked who wants to share their message and really start to speak. I'm gonna ask something similar today, but dude, and I was like, if you want to speak, man, prove it. Get on stage right now. And Jim was the first person on stage, like just boom, like up there. I'm like, bro, I like this guy, man, And then I'm like. And then you said something, I said something, a bunch of people started joining you because you started it. You were the catalyst, you were the leader. And then I'm like, dude, this is Jim Morris. You guys are going to know his name, remember him. And dude, I've just been impressed at your ability to bring visions to life.
Appreciate that, man. It's uncomfortable, but that's what growth is.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, for me, a lot of people are asking today, how are you feeling? And I'm like, the uncomfortableness isn't there anymore based on the excitement, but it really defines and boils down to the clarity.
Yeah.
Like the vision is being executed. And if something isn't executed, that's okay because there's opportunity to do this again.
Totally.
The world doesn't end tomorrow.
No.
And the theme and how we're going to end this thing today is this event is actually the beginning. This is not the end. And us bringing people back in January, February, March, April for the follow-ups and the Q&A and to spend time with speakers again.
Yep.
That's where we break down the barriers. So go take action, go invest in yourself, go implement, go start that commitment, hit that roadblock, and come back to break through it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just something that's unique and not a lot of people are doing. So
also too, what you notice too is like when you really start to execute on a vision, it's almost like you put up a mirror to who you are. Mm-hmm. And then you want to end up being this different person and you want to grow. So a lot of people, it's interesting. I did not work out before I started hosting a conference. I drink soda and I do all these things that I just don't do anymore, right? Whatever, like different habits.
Yeah.
But honestly, your health and the relationships in your life, all these things blossom and you really start to focus harder on things that you're like, why didn't I take that seriously before? And it's like, I don't know. Have you noticed that?
So 100%. And I think for me is when I'm playing at a bigger level, I need to operate at a higher capacity. And by doing those things, I now know, is this aligned with my goal? Is this putting me in the best position to execute on the commitment that I've made to others, but more importantly, the commitment I've made to myself? Mm-hmm. And when I start to justify or look at things and realize they're not good for me, it really comes down to that. Is this in the path? Is this going to get me to where I want to go? And I'm sick of playing small. Yeah. Like that's just really what it comes down to.
True.
And Craig said this when he spoke at one of my events a few months ago. He's like, playing small is canceled. And I'm like, man, that hits hard because that's literally how I've lived my life the last year. I'm like, I'm just not doing it. And it's tough and there's struggles and there's mishaps and there's losing money and bad relationships and partnerships that didn't pan out. But the reality of it is I'm better for it.
100%.
And I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to hope to speak some clarity into others that will take that education and insight and use it to their advantage to align with their goal and accomplish what they're committed to.
Yeah, you know what's really awesome too, as we sit here in this private room, which is really cool, and the back of the Wild Horse is, I can see out the window, Nissan Stadium. That's where I hosted my first conference in the club area, similar to this, right? Similar size. Spent $500,000, lost $250,000, was crazy, wild, but it kickstarted everything else we're doing today. And so I look back and I'm like, that was such a pivotal moment in my career at really getting known in our space. And dude, I'm seeing it. I'm looking back literally across the river.
That's crazy.
Where I started with my stuff, and I'm seeing you do it today and really pull it off, start to execute it. And it's just, dude, it's so exciting. It's so rewarding. And I'm super excited for these next 6 months, year, 5 years of what you're doing now too.
I appreciate that, man. I didn't realize that was your first event, because I know you've told me, and I know you talked to me about some partnerships and kind of set some ground of what to expect or how to not be disappointed if something doesn't happen. And it's funny that I'm looking right out the window at the stadium. But I think that's the cool thing about it is like, I want to do it different and I want to disrupt it. And you clearly did that by renting out a whole freaking stadium for yours.
Used very little of it, but yes.
But still, you did it. You were committed. What you said, you executed on, and look where you're at today. Yeah. You throw thousands and thousands of people in a room. You tour all over the United States, bringing people together, helping them, allowing them to grow. And it started with a vision, man.
Yeah.
And a commitment.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It did. And you think about too, like when you really start to do something like that, it's amazing the amount of other people that want to join forces and be a part of it. It's like doing something big like this, which I want to get to in a second. Like most people struggle outside their comfort zone, but when you do something like that, it's like a magnet for all these really cool, successful people that want to do a podcast, right? We're hanging out doing a podcast, right?
Yeah.
Or that want to speak, or they want to share their message or their gift, or they just want to help you and bring some value because they're like, dang, dude, I know there's a lot of chaos going on, and you're like trying to piece all this together, you know? And so you see, and you really learn who's really on your side.
That was a big, big learning lesson for me. And just being completely vulnerable. There was a point where I had a couple bad weeks and I had a lot of resentment towards some potential partners, some people I've done stuff in the past, some people who made a lot of commitment to what I was doing and was going to be there and help. And, you know, the reality of it is sometimes that's tough to swallow, but kind of like what we were saying earlier today when we were chatting offline was like, through that process, I'm not mad anymore. I don't have resentment. And I've actually allowed myself to grow because I'm giving people grace, but also putting myself in a position where their actions have allowed me to understand where our relationship may sit or fit. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean you didn't come to the conference, so screw you. That's not what I'm saying.
Totally.
I'm saying that you made a commitment to me. Relationships are very important to me, and that commitment has failed.
Yeah.
And I understand and I want to give you grace, but I can't put myself in a position in the future to have that occur.
Totally.
Right? So that's a learning lesson, which I admire and I'm thankful for. It's hard in those moments, but the reality of it is I know where the core is, the core in my community, the core in my relationships, and the people that are in this room supporting me, or the people that couldn't make it. That text message started at 5 a.m. this morning. I'm like, man, I hope you're at the gym and not just getting off Broadway.
Yeah.
But people just hit me up. Hey, I'm not going to make it, but all these long text messages. And I'm like, that's character.
Yeah.
That's character. Mm-hmm. And that's a relationship I admire.
That's cool.
You know?
Yeah, that's cool. And two, here, like I always say, step one of success is showing up. It's amazing the excuses that I get when I'm hosting an event. You know, I mean, you probably got all kind of them. You know, but it's like you see who really wants to show up and improve their life and be around winners. It's
for
cool.
Sure. Well, anything else you want to share, or any feedback, or anything you're excited about?
Dude, I think the lineup that you put together is stellar. You know, I mean, to kick it off with Tim Story and Coach Burt, like, dude, I love those guys, man. Freaking incredible. You know, Brian Galky's got me looking at people's eyebrows now, you know, and I'm like, bro, that's weird, but maybe it's working, I guess. You know, I got people across the table like staring at me, and I'm like, what are you looking at? They're like, your eyebrows, right? You got to be here to know what we're talking about, right? That's an inside joke. And then, dude, I'm excited about Jamie and Tiffany and like just me, all these people, man. I'm getting to meet some cool people, so it's allowed me to also form some new relationships with several people I did not know. We have not spoken events together, and so by you branching out and doing that, even for the speakers, it's also helping us in a lot of really cool ways. So I'm grateful for that, man. Appreciate you.
I love it. Just trying to make an impact, baby.
That's right, man. That's the effect, right? That's the effect.
That's it. Impact Effect 24. You don't want to miss it.
Amen to that.
We'll be there.
Let's go.
Cool.